Hey, this is Russ. Yeah, I'm over here in Las Vegas. We're at the ACE Buffet in the Palms Hotel. And I'm here with my sister, and we came to Vegas to see Barry Manilow, but we're also going to do some buffets. So we decided to hit the Lobster Buffet at the ACE Buffet. And the Lobster Buffet is running $79.99. Yeah, they raised the price on this thing just recently. And their normal dinner prices are $46.99, but lobster night is Wednesday and Thursday night, and we were here around the 3 p.m. Time period for the dinner buffet for lobster night. Now we got here a little bit early, and they still let us in. So our appointment time was maybe about 30 to 45 minutes later, but yeah, they took everybody that was in line. So yeah, so I just decided to go through to kind of show you some of the things that we see at the buffet. Now, I will say that the lobster buffet is unlimited, but they do give you one lobster tail at a time, or one whole lobster at a time, or lobster and lobster tail one at a time. So you can get those two things at the same time if you like. You can go back as often as you want to get as many lobster tails as you like, or as many whole lobsters as you like. So my plan was to do mostly lobster tails because it's less work, because they already pulled the lobster tail meat out and they've already deveined it and everything. It's just a lot easier to deal with. But I did decide I will do at least one lobster to show you a whole lobster. But I'm gonna count that as a tail because even though there's claws, these lobsters aren't a huge type lobsters, so you know, the claw meat is very small. So you can see the variety of different things that they have available. But I will say this, you know, for $79.99, we're gonna do the Bacchanal buffet a little bit later in this video, and that's around the same basic price range too. And I think there's a lot more offerings at the Bacchanal buffet. But this time around, because I was diagnosed as a diabetic in January, I was very selective on what items I was going to choose to eat, and I'm trying to avoid as many things that have sugar or anything that has carbs. So you have to kind of look at many of the carb contents will turn to sugar. So I'm approaching this a little differently than maybe the typical diner that would come to a buffet. I'm going to strictly find things that I can eat as a diabetic, all right? So you'll see a little bit later as I go through these things. And okay, here's some dim sum type items. And again, I'm going to avoid this type of thing. Now, there are some things that I just have to have. And so you'll see one or two carb type items a little bit later. But the majority of this is going to be lobster tails and lobster meat. So yeah, so anyways, just looking through the offerings here, the buffet isn't really that large, and although I know a lot of people do like the ACE buffet, I think if you were going here strictly as a dinner buffet, not lobster night, it's not so bad of a deal, right? Because if you're looking at the prices for that, you're really looking at $46.99. They have a brunch buffet at $42.99, but we're here for the lobster dinner. Now, I know that when my sister had booked the lobster night, it wasn't $79.99 at the time. Excuse me. Gotta clear my throat here. But they did raise the price by the time we got there. So yeah, it came out basically around the same price as the big Bacchanal buffet was. Now you'll see here that they have everything from, you know, of course, all the meat offerings and the carb offerings, but they have a salad area as well, and you have cold items like the cold shrimp and the like. And then the rest of your typical salad type items and fruits are available. I just wanted to give you an overview of what's there. So you can see I'm moving fairly quickly. I mean, we're going to get into the nitty gritty a little bit later when we're actually going to start eating some of these things. And we'll take account of how many lobster tails I actually do. That's the drawn butter. They have a spicy butter and a standard butter. And of course, most buffets will offer you bread, but of course we don't eat any of that. First off, to me, I consider those fillers. Kind of fills you up, and then you're not going to eat the other things. Now, I got a number of the crab legs as well, and these are hot crab legs. Now, I'm not a big fan of getting seafood that's cold, although I did take some of the shrimp that was cold. But yeah, if you give me an option of cold crab legs or steamed crab legs, I'm going to take the steamed crab legs. So I'm dunking the first lobster tail in standard drawn butter. I did not take the spicy butter. I figured I'll just stick with the standard butter. Now, the tails themselves are not that huge. They're basically average size lobster tails. And you can usually do one of these things in about 2 bites. So yeah, that's the first one down. Now you can see how much easier that is to do. Here's the second, all right? So we're gonna kind of keep count of the lobster tails that I'm eating. And again, you can see basically within 2 bites, you can finish that off. Now, here's a full lobster. I figured I had to do at least 1 whole lobster just to show you the size of the lobsters that are coming here. So yeah, they're decent size. They're not huge, but they're not small either. But again, easier to do the lobster tails. Here's my third one. Yeah, you know, after a while, you start wondering how many lobster tails can you eat before it starts getting to kind of like over and over, the same thing over and over. Having some variety is good, so is it really worth $79.99 just to keep eating lobster tails? Now, like I said, the offerings that they offered is a lot more minimal compared to Bacchanal. And although you don't get full things like, you know, whole lobster tails at the Bacchanal, you do have a lot of other crab type items and other seafood items you can do. Now here, I'm trying to deal with the whole lobster. The best thing is just trying to kind of squeeze it through and break it open, right? Yeah, so you can see I'm struggling a little bit, but yeah, I finally get to get it open. But again, you have to devein this thing yourself, and so it becomes kind of a chore, and you know, you don't get everything that you want out of it. So in my opinion, if you're gonna go do the lobster night, skip the whole lobster, just go for the tail. So I'm just gonna count this whole lobster as a single tail. Yeah, so overall, I would say the lobster quality was, you know, average quality. I wouldn't say it was, you know, exceptional or anything like that. But, you know, if you're there just for quantity, you can get your quantity. Now, that's 4 lobster tails if you look at the whole lobster as a tail only. Now, here I am. I'm going to go ahead and crack open the lobster claw, but again, wasn't that easy to take out, and the meat was, in my opinion, kind of minimal. So we'll just count that as the tail, since I lost some of the meat while trying to get the tail out of there in the first place. But yeah, I mean, to me, lobster tails still taste better in general than just lobster claws. So, all right, so then the lobster claw is in. We're pretty much done. You get 2 lobster claws to deal with, but we'll skip showing you that. So this is number 5 we're going for now. So yeah, you have to kind of ask yourself, can you eat, you know, your money's worth? I mean, depending on how many you eat and depending on what the current market price of lobsters are, I'm not sure really it's really worth it. Now, of course, you know, they're cooking it for you and you're eating it in a restaurant and like so, but you know, you can get your own. Now, the trick was trying to get the crab legs whole, so it wasn't breaking and then, you know, the whole meat is kind of demolished. But the trick is to kind of take the cartilage section out of that one little extra section, get that stuff out of the way, crack it in half in one direction lightly, then crack it in half the other way, and then you can usually pull it out whole. All right, it's always kind of makes you feel like you've accomplished something if you can get the whole thing at one time, right? So we're gonna go back and forth between lobster tails and the like. So now let's try some other foods, right? We got other meats that's available. Let's go ahead and finish up number 6. And kind of move it out of the way. Now they do give you a bucket, so you can put the discarded shells and the like in the bucket, gets it out of the way. And I will say that the server came by often to remove all the extra shells out of the bucket. So he got a nice tip after we were done. But yeah, I'm getting to the point now, I'm like, okay, how many more of these tails can I eat to get my money's worth, right? So now my sister brought me some brisket. I did eat some with some of the fat in there. I would say the brisket was okay. I know that the brisket, the last time I was at the Bacchanal, was far better. I think what happened was waiting too long, it started getting a little dried out. Now, there was actually 2 pieces there that she got for me, and the one underneath the one on top was actually better. The top one seemed a lot more drier, but I think it kind of kept the other one better. So she said, just skip it, don't worry about it, but I hate wasting food, okay? So I finished them both. All right, so now we're going for number 7, all right? Number 7, lobster tail. I was getting kind of full at this point already and getting a little tired of eating lobster tails, but again, I says, I gotta get my money's worth. And this is the problem with something like the lobster buffet. You kind of feel like you have to do it in order to get your money's worth. Because there really, in my opinion, there wasn't really that many other items that I could eat anyway at the buffet, being a diabetic. So yeah, we're gonna do 7, all right? I'm gonna stop at 7. I'm not gonna go further than 7 tails. So I decided let's get some carbs in there. And these are just typical comfort foods. I wanted to see how their pizza was. I got a little bit of mac and cheese, and of course I got a chicken wing. So go ahead and try that out. The chicken wing, it's got some sugar in there, obviously, but again, I'm not eating that much of the sugar, so it wasn't going to affect me too much. So I said, let's go ahead and do it. Now, it wasn't too bad. It was okay. The lobster mac and cheese was actually pretty decent. I was actually surprised because there is lobster meat inside the mac and cheese. I thought it was worthwhile. As far as the pizza was concerned, well, it's your typical buffet style pizza, you know, maybe a little bit better than the typical buffet style pizza, but it was just average, not a big deal. All right, so now we're over at the Bacchanal buffet, all right? Anyway, after that particular meal, we went to see Barry Manilow, and this is the next day now. So the Bacchanal buffet is, in my opinion, for the money, well worth it. It is a huge buffet. Now, I'm not gonna go and talk about every item that's shown here, but you can kind of see what's offered. It's a lot of seafood, but again, their seafood is on ice. Now, the last time we were here, at the Bacchanal, I didn't take as much seafood as you might think one should, because again, I'm not a real big fan of iced seafood. I'd rather have it steamed and fresh and warm. So just looking over the top over here, they've got some warmer seafood on this side, and the crab legs on this side are steamed crab legs, okay? So I did get myself some steamed crab legs and some other seafood things too. But again, after you know, the night before, actually it wasn't nighttime, it was actually probably around, I don't know, we were there 2:45 p.m., something like that. So the day before, having all the seafood, I felt, oh, another bunch of seafood. But yeah, we had to do it, right? Now, there are other items that you can do, but again, being diabetic, I had to be very selective as to what I was gonna eat. And but again, I wanted to show all the things that were being offered. The thing with being a diabetic, you can eat things that have less sugar or less carb content in there, but I tended to stick mostly to the meats, which is typical of me anyway. Now, you see all of the carved meat here. I didn't take lots of this. I just took a little bit of it, and that was enough. I mean, it just seems like so much that you don't want to do that. Now, I will say between the 2 buffets, I did not eat as much as I typically would have eaten in the past. Yeah, since being diagnosed with diabetes, I had dropped 44 pounds before coming here. At the end of this whole trip, I found that I had lost another 2.5 pounds. So even with 2 buffets and some other things I ate for 2 weeks while I was out here in California, I actually lost 2.5 pounds. So, you know, a quick trip to something like these buffets, if you don't really gorge yourself that bad, you can find that it really doesn't affect your diet that much. Now, if you did this all the time, if I was a food reviewer in Vegas constantly, yeah, I think you can probably expect to gain some weight, unless you're exercising it all off. But of course, I don't do that much of that. So yeah, I'm glad I'm here just every now and then, and I don't do stuff like this on a daily basis. So Now, this is the Mexican section. They have guys making tacos and the like in there. I was so tempted to get one of these things, but I kept thinking, well, then, the tortillas and everything like that will probably make it worse for me. So I tended to skip it. But I recall going to the Bacchanal buffet last year. Was it last year? Maybe a year and a half, something like that. I kept saying that, I wanted to go back and try all the other things I didn't get to try. But that was before I got diagnosed as diabetic. If I hadn't been diagnosed, I would have tried a bunch of different things here. Now, if you take a look at the quantity things that are offered here compared to the last buffet, for roughly about the same price, I think this is a better deal. Now, I don't know if the Bacchanal buffet has gone up in price or not. Luckily for me, my sister treated me to these 2 buffets. In fact, she treated me to the entire trip. So she paid for everything. And I think it may have gone up a little bit. But either way, I was happy to go and thankful that she was willing to pay for everything. So anyway, you can see with all the options here, many of the items I really just can't do. So now I could have done things like cheese, I could have done other things, but I can get cheese anywhere. So I figure, you might as well, if you're gonna go to something like this, you want to get things that you can't get at your typical place, right? Deli meats, I can get that anywhere. Bread, forget that. We're not doing bread. Breads are basically fillers. It's gonna fill you up, and then it's gonna make it harder for you to eat the things that cost a little bit more money, right? And you want to get your money's worth because it's expensive. It's not cheap. So, but everything's segmented into different categories. When you go down here, you can find the Mexican sections, you find the Asian sections. So this is lechon, which is Filipino foods. This is basically roast pork. I got some of that. You'll see that a little bit later. And there's sushi. There's Filipino skewers. I got some of that. And in the Chinese section, you have your typical Chinese foods, and I got some of that too. But again, I stuck mostly with the meats. I didn't get too much of the carb type things. And I also had to kind of think a little bit about, what about the okay, here's some dim sum. What about the other food items? How is it prepared? Is there sugar in there? Would they have prepared it without sugar? Those are things that I keep thinking about as I go through this. Now, I will be happy to tell you, after this whole buffet experience, I did check my blood sugars both times afterwards, and actually I did not really peak out that much. In fact, it was actually really good. Let me check my numbers here as you're looking through the thing. We're just going to walk through the buffet to get back to the table. But I'm going to pick up my food in a second here. But let me take a look at my numbers here. So, my numbers for the for after those particular meals. Let me. I'm looking at my chart here as I'm talking here. Let's see, buffets. Okay, ACE buffet. What was my numbers? After the buffet, a couple hours after, 111. And after the buffet at the Bacchanal buffet, it was 94. So I'm within the upper ranges of normal. So not too bad. So my selections was a smart selection. Here's some of the desserts. I didn't have a whole lot of any of this. Now, here was the thing that I told my sister. I said, if you get a dessert, wait before you eat it. I'm gonna take a small scooping of it to taste it. That's basically what I did. I didn't take a lot of anything. I just took a little scoop of everything that she had just to see what it tasted like. It's gonna add up a little bit in sugars if you tasted everything, but I didn't try everything that she grabbed. And she was the same thing. She says, I'm not gonna overdo these type of things. And so I don't know whether we got our money's worth at the Bacchanal this time around, but we weren't there to gorge. Now, we had a dilemma. We had the option to maybe skip these buffets altogether and just go for a quality place. But based on timing of when our flights were in and out and when the openings were available for some of these more better restaurants, it wasn't gonna match our timing. So we ultimately opted not to do that, and we just said, let's just do the buffets. We have appointments already set for it, reservations for it. So we stuck with the 2. I mean, we were going to skip the lobster buffet and maybe go to a better steakhouse, but couldn't get in early enough. We would have ended up missing maybe part of the concert, so we didn't want to do that. So anyway, you might have noticed they had some mochi donuts. It wasn't really mochi donuts, in my opinion. You know, I've had good mochi donuts that actually felt like mochi. This was just kind of rubbery, regular donuts. did not really feel like mochi to me. So yeah, lots of different options. They do have sugar-free options, but again, yeah, I wasn't here for this really. I was here for other items. So there you go. That's all the various dessert type items. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and try this out and see how it comes out here. So, all right. All right, so here's my first plate, and yeah, I did do some basic things. Now here's a spring roll. I said, well, okay, you know, splurge on one item. I'm gonna get myself a spring roll. See how it was. It wasn't bad, but again, you know, I didn't overdo those type of things. Now I did have a Diet Coke. I don't know if they had Coke or Pepsi. I couldn't tell. I think it was Diet Coke. This is Filipino skewers. Yeah, so again, meat, but again, this type of thing would have some sugars on it. Yeah, when they're cooking these type of things. So you can't overdo it, otherwise it could cause a problem for you. So I just had a little bit of that, a little bit of this. Yeah, what did I get? I think I got 2 skewers. So, oh, just thinking about all the things that we ate. I mean, I was full. There's one of the cold shrimps. I was full after we were done. I would say after doing these buffets, we basically said no more buffets. We are done with buffets. I know that I can't eat lots of things anymore. My stomach capacity is a lot lower now that I've lost a bunch of weight. Like I said, I dropped 44 pounds before I came here. Dropped another 2.5 pounds. I'm still shooting to get a little bit more weight loss than where I'm at this point. So knowing that my stomach capacity is lower, knowing that, you know, certain things are things that I cannot eat, I just said, yeah, I'm done with buffets after this. This is pretty much going to be my final Vegas buffet. I think if we go in the future, we're just going to go for quality. We're not going to go for quantity. I mean, I never feel good after eating lots and lots of things at a buffet anyway. But since we're here, we got to make our money's worth. So again, you kind of feel like you're stuffing yourself when you really don't have to, right? So this is lechon, which is roast pork. Yeah. Now the roast pork was pretty good. I would say that they seemed to do a pretty good job with it. It wasn't the best. I've had much better, you know, but considering it's a buffet, yeah, why not, right? All right, so what else we got going on here? Okay, so some of the crab legs again. Again, after a while, you've had crab leg upon crab leg, and you know, two days in a row. You don't need to go overboard on this type of stuff. But again, I know that people, you know, they'll hang out at the seafood section and just get more and more seafood items. But yeah, I found it more of a almost like a challenge to see if I can get the whole meat out of that crab leg. It was more of a game, more so than just trying to get things to eat here. Now again, I did some pizza to see how the pizzas were. The Bacchanal pizza is better in my opinion, and I remember getting a little bit of pizza before, and it was pretty good. And this is you know, previous buffet time there, and so I said I gotta try it at least one more time. And knowing that I'm not going to overdo, I know that the numbers wouldn't be so bad. Let's go and do back another crab leg. Again, you take that section out first, crack it in half, bend it the other way, and then pull out. So if you do it that way, you they always kind of pre-cut it for you too. They kind of use a saw and they kind of cut a section, so it makes it easier to crack. Sometimes you have to crack in the middle. But again, don't just crack it totally in half and just bend it off, because then you'll just break the meat. You kind of have to just break the shell, go the other way, break the shell the other way, and you'll get it out of there. Yeah. So I did also get some roast duck, and that was typical. It wasn't anything really special, but again, better than nothing. Now, here's plate number 2. I got some salmon, a little bit more crab legs, and some shrimp. Now, I just wanted to try the salmon out to see if it was any good. I think the salmon was sitting out there a little longer than I would have liked, so it was starting to dry out a little bit. Wasn't so bad though, you know, it was okay. I'm not one that really likes eating raw seafood, so I never eat raw fish. So because of the fact that it was cooked, I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. So here's a bigger chunk of the salmon. All right, now this is called Grandma's Meatball, but I felt that the meatball from the Slice House pizza place was far better than this one. Yeah, I mean, it was okay, but no, after having the Slice House meatball, yeah, this one did not compare. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys for the buffets. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of the things and my thoughts about the buffets. Hey, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. I'll talk to you guys next time.